The Xylar Collective sprawled across a respectable arm of the galaxy, its tendrils of influence woven from centuries of unchallenged dominance. Their ships, sleek obsidian shards powered by harnessed singularities, patrolled borders that had remained static for generations. Their cities, glittering spires of crystal and light, hummed with a quiet efficiency, a testament to the perfectly optimized lives of its citizens. They had mapped the stars, plumbed the depths of physics, and unlocked secrets that would have driven lesser species mad. And in their collective, meticulously cataloged knowledge, there was no mention, no whisper, no echo of another civilization even remotely approaching their level of sophistication. This wasn't arrogance. They told themselves it was simply fact. The universe, in its infinite vastness, had apparently chosen them. The Xylar were the apex, the culmination of cosmic evolution, the sole inheritors of the galactic domain. This belief, once a bold hypothesis, had ossified into an unshakable dogma, a cornerstone of their society. Complacency, however, was the inevitable byproduct of such unchallenged supremacy. Innovation stagnated. The military became a ceremonial guard, more concerned with parade formations than actual combat readiness. Their scientists, lacking any external pressure, pursued increasingly esoteric and impractical theories. The Xylar Collective had become a gilded cage, its inhabitants content to bask in the reflected glory of their ancestors, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon, a storm brewing from the unlikeliest of sources, a small, insignificant planet orbiting a mediocre star, a world they had never even bothered to survey. A world called Earth. The first ripple in the placid waters of Xylar dominance arrived not with a bang, but a flicker. A momentary distortion in the fabric of space-time, registered by a deep space monitoring station on the fringes of the collective's territory. FTL. Signatures, impossible, unthinkable. The technician on duty, a young Xylar named Zalara, stared at the readout, her multifaceted eyes narrowed in confusion. The sensors were notoriously sensitive, prone to picking up cosmic background radiation and other forms of interference. She ran a diagnostic. No errors. Still, the anomaly persisted, a fleeting burst of energy that defied all known laws of physics, originating from a region of space considered utterly devoid of anything of interest. Zalara dutifully reported the incident to her supervisor, a grizzled veteran named Forlak, whose primary concern was ensuring his subordinates adhered to the strict bureaucratic protocols that governed every aspect of Xylar life. Forlak, after a perfunctory glance at the data, dismissed it as a sensor malfunction. "These things happen, Zalara," he droned, his voice laced with weary condescension. "The universe is a chaotic place. Don't waste my time with phantom readings." But Zalara, despite her supervisor's dismissiveness, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The energy signature was unlike anything she had ever encountered. It possessed a strange, almost aggressive quality. She filed the report away, marking it as unresolved anomaly, but deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. A seed that would soon blossom into a terrifying realization. They were not alone, and the newcomers were coming, fast. Weeks later, the Stalwart Gaze, a routine patrol vessel commanded by Captain Rel, drifted through the same sector where the anomaly had been reported. Rel, a by-the-book officer nearing retirement, considered his assignment a monotonous waste of resources. The most excitement he usually encountered was a rogue asteroid or a particularly stubborn nebula. Then, the sensors blared .5 contacts, emerging from FDL less than a light minute away. Rel initially assumed it was a Xylar training exercise gone awry, but the sensor readings were wrong. The ships were crude, ungainly things, patched together with what appeared to be scavenged materials. Their energy signatures were raw, almost violent. These were not Xylar vessels. Rel, adhering to protocol, attempted to establish communication. He transmitted a standard greeting, identifying the Stalwart Gaze and requesting the unknown vessels identify themselves. The response was nothing, only static. He tried again, cycling through various communication frequencies, but the result was the same. Then, the unknown vessels began to maneuver, not evasively, but aggressively. They were turning to face the Stalwart Gaze, weapons charging. Rel felt a chill run down his spine. He had a very bad feeling about this. These weren't explorers, or traders, or lost colonists. These were something else entirely. Something hostile. Rel, realizing the gravity of the situation, ordered the Stalwart Gaze to battle stations. He initiated evasive maneuvers, but the Earth vessels were surprisingly fast. Their movements were erratic, almost reckless, but undeniably effective. The first barrage of projectiles slammed into the Xylar shields. Rel braced for the familiar hum of energy dissipation, but instead, the ship shuddered violently. The shields were failing. The Earth ships were using kinetic weaponry, primitive by Xylar standards, but delivered with terrifying force and volume. The stalwart gaze retaliated with its plasma cannons, vaporizing one of the Earth vessels with a single shot. But the remaining four pressed on, their damaged hulls vending atmosphere, their weapons still firing. They swarmed the Xylar vessel, employing tactics that were barbaric, almost suicidal. They were clearly outgunned and outmatched technologically, but they fought with a ferocity that Rel had never witnessed. Explosions rocked the stalwart gaze. Hull breaches spread rapidly. Life support systems flickered and died. Rel watched in horror as his crew fought valiantly, but futilely, against the relentless onslaught. The Earth vessels, crippled and burning, continued their attack until the stalwart gaze, once a proud symbol of Xylar dominance, was reduced to a cloud of debris. Only then, with the Xylar patrol ship utterly destroyed, did the remaining Earth vessels limp away, leaving behind a chilling message. The galaxy was no longer theirs alone. The storm had arrived. The destruction of the stalwart gaze sent shockwaves through the Xylar collective. Disbelief turned to outrage, then to a dawning, chilling fear. The Council, the governing body of the Xylar, scrambled to assemble a response. A larger fleet, led by the flagship, Indomitable, was dispatched to the site of the wreckage. The debris field was a grim testament to the ferocity of the battle. Salvage teams painstakingly combed through the wreckage, recovering fragments of the destroyed Earth vessels and the remains of the stalwart gaze. Among the debris, they found something far more valuable than wreckage: data fragments. Encrypted and heavily damaged, the Xylar decryption teams worked tirelessly to unlock their secrets. What they discovered shattered their preconceived notions of the universe. The data revealed the existence of Earth, a planet teeming with life, a world scarred by conflict and brimming with a fierce, unyielding spirit. They learned of Earth's history, a relentless cycle of wars, technological advancements, driven by necessity and an unwavering determination to survive against all odds. The Xylar saw images of sprawling cities, colossal factories churning out weapons of war, in the faces of Earth's warriors. Faces etched with grim determination and a burning hunger for victory. They discovered Earth's primitive, yet surprisingly effective technology, born from a culture that valued practicality over elegance and brute force over finesse. The Xylar collective, for the first time in centuries, felt a tremor of genuine fear. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and it was very, very angry. The Xylar's fear proved well-founded. Before they could fully mobilize their forces or devise a coherent strategy, Earth struck. Not with a tentative probe or a diplomatic overture, but with a full-scale invasion. Wave after wave of Earth vessels poured through hastily established FTL jump points, bypassing the Xylar's outer defenses and striking directly at key strategic locations. The initial engagements were a bloodbath. The Xylar, accustomed to effortless victories, were caught completely off guard by the sheer audacity and relentless aggression of the Earth forces. Earth ships, though less technologically advanced, were mass-produced in staggering numbers, and their crews fought with a fanatical zeal that bordered on insanity. The Xylar's energy weapons proved effective against individual Earth vessels, but their targeting systems struggled to cope with the swarm tactics employed by the Earth forces. The Earth ships would absorb incredible amounts of damage, their hulls riddled with holes, their engines sputtering, yet they continued to press the attack, overwhelming the Xylar defenses with sheer numbers and unwavering determination. The Xylar's sleek, elegant warships were designed for long-range engagements and precision strikes, but the Earth forces closed the distance, engaging in brutal close-quarters combat where their superior numbers and raw firepower gave them a decisive advantage. The Xylar collective, the unchallenged masters of the galaxy, were being pushed back, inch by bloody inch, by a species they had never even considered a threat. The invasion had begun, and the Xylar were losing. The Earth invasion plunged the Xylar collective into a state of utter chaos. The Council, once a symbol of unity and unwavering resolve, devolved into a squabbling assembly of panicked bureaucrats and power-hungry politicians. Accusations flew like poison darts. Blame was assigned with reckless abandon. Alliances crumbled, replaced by bitter rivalries. The long-held belief in Xylar's superiority, the cornerstone of their society, lay shattered, replaced by a gnawing sense of vulnerability and fear. The military, crippled by decades of complacency and bureaucratic inertia, proved woefully inadequate to the task of defending Xylar space. High-ranking officers, more accustomed to ceremonial duties than actual combat, issued contradictory orders, further compounding the confusion. Supply lines broke down. Communication networks collapsed. Morale plummeted. The Earth forces, sensing the Xylar's disarray, pressed their advantage, capturing key planets and strategic resources with alarming speed. The Xylar people, accustomed to a life of comfort and security, struggled to comprehend the reality of the situation. Protests erupted in the major cities, demanding the council take decisive action. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, fueled by fear and misinformation. The Xylar Collective, once a model of galactic civilization, teetered on the brink of collapse, its internal divisions proving to be a far greater threat than any external enemy. The invasion was not just a military defeat. It was a complete and utter societal breakdown. Amidst the despair and recriminations, a flicker of hope emerged. In a forgotten research lab, buried deep beneath the capital city, a young Xylar scientist named Lyra toiled tirelessly. Lyra, ostracized by her peers for her unconventional theories and rebellious spirit, had dedicated herself to understanding the Earth's technology. While others dismissed it as crude and primitive, Lyra saw something else, a vulnerability. She realized that the Earth's technology, while powerful, was fundamentally inefficient. They relied on brute force and raw energy, sacrificing finesse and precision for sheer destructive capability. Their power conduits were overloaded, their safety protocols were minimal, and their systems were riddled with redundancies designed to compensate for their inherent instability. Lyra theorized that by exploiting these weaknesses, the Xylar could turn the Earth's own power against them. She developed a device, a highly focused energy pulse, designed to overload the Earth's power grids and disrupt their communication networks. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but it was the only viable option she could conceive. Presenting her findings to the council, Lyra was met with skepticism and derision. But with the Earth forces closing in on the capital city, and with the collective facing imminent collapse, the council reluctantly agreed to authorize a limited field test. Lyra's unorthodox approach might be the only thing standing between the Xylar and utter annihilation. With the Earth forces poised to seize the capital, the council, in a desperate act of self-preservation, authorized Lyra's plan. A small, elite squadron of Xylar interceptors was hastily retrofitted with Lyra's energy pulse devices. The mission was a suicide run. Their objective, to penetrate the Earth's defenses and target their command structure, disrupting their communication networks and crippling their ability to coordinate the invasion. The squadron, led by Commander Theron, a veteran pilot known for his courage and tactical acumen, launched from a hidden hangar beneath the city. They navigated through the chaotic battle raging above, dodging Earth fighters and capital ships, their small size and agility their only advantage. Theron knew the odds were stacked against them, but he was driven by a sense of duty and a desperate hope that they could somehow turn the tide of the war. As they approached the Earth's command ship, a massive, heavily armored vessel bristling with weapons, they unleashed Lyra's energy pulses. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Earth ship shuddered violently as its power grids overloaded, its communication systems went haywire, and its weapons sputtered and died. But the Earth forces were not easily defeated. They retaliated with everything they had, unleashing a barrage of fire that tore through the Xylar interceptors. One by one, the Xylar ships fell, consumed by explosions. Theron, his own ship heavily damaged, pressed on, determined to complete his mission, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. Theron's interceptor, the last one standing, finally reached the Earth command ship. He unleashed a final burst of energy, overloading the ship's core. The resulting explosion crippled the vessel, disrupting the Earth's command network and buying the Xylar collective precious time. But it was too late. The Earth forces, though temporarily hampered, were too numerous, too resilient. The Xylar suicide mission had inflicted significant damage, but it had ultimately failed to turn the tide of the war. Earth secured a decisive victory, their relentless aggression proving too much for the Xylar to overcome. The Xylar collective surrendered, their empire shattered, their pride broken. However, the Earth forces, witnessing the Xylar's tenacity and their willingness to sacrifice everything for their survival, developed a grudging respect for their former enemy. They recognized that the Xylar, despite their complacency and arrogance, possessed a certain strength, a certain resilience that could be valuable in the long run. Earth established a presence in Xylar space, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. guiding the Xylar Collective towards a new era of stability and cooperation. The galaxy had been forever changed. The Xylar were no longer alone. And Earth had learned that even the most decisive victories come at a cost. The seeds of future conflicts, of new alliances and unforeseen challenges had been sown. The age of unchallenged dominance was over. The galaxy was now a far more complicated and far more dangerous place.